hung high above the willow trees, casting a silvery glow over the secluded courtyard on empty Tianheng where Ryen was temporarily staying. Inside, the dining table was brimming with an array of exquisite dishes. Ryen sat with Zhongli and the others, their gazes falling on the feast before them. His appetite stirred, the anticipation evident in his eyes. He wasn't exaggerating earlier. His meals in Teyvat had been underwhelming, to say the least. Other than the rare visits from Keqing and the others, he'd mostly subsisted on apples and bread. Ningguang, ever perceptive, noticed Ryen's hunger and decided not to rush into discussing contracts. With a graceful gesture, she pointed to the spread before them. Liyue cuisine is broadly categorized into two main styles: the Li style, mastered by Xinyu Kiosk, and the Yu style, represented by the Jade Pavilion, she explained. In recent years, the Wanmin restaurant has also gained popularity with its more accessible dishes. However, its head chef, Xiangling, has recently traveled to Mondstadt and hasn't returned yet. So, I arranged for the most iconic dishes from Xinyu Kiosk and the Jade Pavilion to be brought here for you to try, Ryen. Let's see if they suit your taste. With Ningguang offering such hospitality, Ryen had no intention of refusing. He smiled warmly. From the looks of it, the dishes are impeccable. I'm not picky when it comes to good food, he said. In his previous life, he'd endured enough formality and hierarchy. Now, with newfound freedom and power, he had no intention of waiting for others to start eating. He casually picked up his chopsticks and helped himself to a piece of meat. The flavors weren't quite melt in your mouth, but it was undeniably delicious. Even though the dishes had been delivered from afar, their freshness remained intact. Ryen wasn't one for flowery descriptions. In his view, there was only one word for it: delicious. Seeing Ryen start eating, the others naturally followed suit. No one brought up the otherworldly matters just yet, and instead, they laughed and chatted like old friends. It didn't take long for everyone to feel more at ease with one another. Even Ningguang and Keqing, despite Zhongli's presence, remained relaxed. As Liyue's Qixing, they had seen Zhongli plenty of times, and he didn't carry himself with the airs of a god. Who charges the least for car insurance? Check zip codes. Mora, 818205273. The conversation flowed naturally to the little happenings of Teyvat. They spoke of how a harbinger from the Fatui had recently traveled to Mondstadt, the ongoing battles between the resistance and the shogunate in Inazuma, and even the void terminals in Sumeru. Listening closely, Ryen began to piece together the current timeline. From their discussions, it seemed that Lumen was likely on her way to Mondstadt right about now. As for why it wasn't Ether, Zhongli had mentioned in passing that the Abyss Order appeared to be following the commands of a certain prince. Well, that's fine, Ryen thought. Lumen is such an adorable traveler. Who needs the dragon-slaying brother anyway? The meal carried on until only half the dishes remained. Satisfied, Ryen wiped his mouth with a napkin and looked up at Ningguang. Sensing the shift in mood, the others gradually quieted. They knew it was time to discuss serious matters. Ningguang straightened, her demeanor transforming in an instant. The shrewd and commanding aura of Liyue's Tianshu star emerged, radiating confidence and determination. In this moment, she appeared even more dazzling than before. Known for her decisive approach, Ningguang didn't wait for Ryen to speak. "Ryen, let's get straight to the point," she said, producing a blank contract and placing it on the table. Her gaze was sharp and unwavering as she continued. "In the spirit of collaboration, I'd like to know the exact scope of our partnership. What does Liyue need to do for you? And what can we gain from your world in return?" Ryen blinked, momentarily taken aback by how Ningguang seemed to become a different person entirely. He couldn't help but click his tongue in admiration, as expected of the Tianshu star. Fortunately, Ryen was no stranger to dealing with formidable figures. Without missing a beat, he maintained his composure and met Ningguang's gaze calmly. "Collaboration, naturally, should be mutually beneficial," he began. "The wonders and resources of my world. I'm sure Keqing and Ganyu have already told you about them. As for what I'm offering," Ryen paused, his tone calm yet firm. Resources, technology, sustainable development, and if you wish, I can even support you in cultivating lands within that world and building a second Liyue. His words carried such weight that even Zhongli, who had been silent until now, was visibly moved. Ryen's meaning was unmistakable. Other than the world's ownership, he was granting them freedom to do as they pleased. It was practically a gift, a boundless frontier for Liyue to explore and expand into. Even Ningguang, with her knack for negotiations, was momentarily speechless. Ryen's offer had far exceeded her expectations. For a fleeting moment, she felt the urge to seal the deal immediately. But Ningguang was nothing if not composed. After a brief pause, she suppressed her excitement and asked with measured restraint, "And what would you need from us in return?" Ryen smiled, his demeanor casual as he spread his hands. "Don't worry, what I need won't conflict with what you're doing. In fact, partnering with me is inherently aligned with my goals. My purpose can be summed up in one word: exploration. My aim is to develop that world and gradually execute my plans for its cultivation. Of course, I'll also need priority access to any resources you uncover. Many of the technologies I intend to develop require rare and specific materials. For me alone, the quantities are astronomical, but for a nation like yours, they're negligible." What Ryen referred to were materials like diamonds and redstone, as well as resources that might later be unlocked in industrial or technological expansions. With just himself, and even with the help of Keqing and the others, the timeline for gathering these resources would be painfully long. But with the power of an entire nation behind him, things would progress much faster. After all, the ridiculous demands of that unscrupulous system vendor often multiplied workloads 100-fold. That's it. Ningguang hesitated, biting her lip. It wasn't a question she usually asked, but she couldn't help it. Despite the partnership being framed as equal, it felt overwhelmingly in Liyue's favor. Ryen shrugged with a wry smile. "Frankly, I'm just one person. I don't need much. Developing that world is my only essential task, and its wonders you can't even begin to imagine. Indestructible bedrock, the nether, the end, enchantments, potions. Take redstone technology, for example. It's enough to keep you researching for years. But resources? They've never been the most important aspect of that world. What it truly requires is unbounded creativity and the desire to build. With imagination as your wings, redstone contraptions could theoretically allow you to blast all of Teyvat into rubble. In short, I'll create these things, but I need materials and manpower. That's why I chose to work with you." Ningguang fell silent. There was nothing more to question. Exchanging glances with Zhongli and the others, she finally smiled brightly. "In that case, on behalf of Liyue, I agree to this collaboration. And thank you, Ryen, for granting us a brighter future. Whatever you seek, we will do our utmost to fulfill it. And should you have any other reasonable requests, we'll strive to assist you as best we can. In Teyvat, you will be Liyue's most esteemed guest. All your expenses will be handled by the Ministry of Civil Affairs and your safety." Before Ningguang could finish, Zhongli spoke up, his voice calm yet resolute. "Xiao will be responsible for your safety. Should the need arise, simply call my name, and I will aid you in battle." Xiao, standing nearby, understood the gravity of the situation. This man before him was about to collaborate with Liyue to develop an uncharted world, a partnership that could change everything. Bowing his head slightly, Zhao's tone was solemn as he declared, "Within Teyvat, if you have need, call my name. I, Xiao, the golden-winged Diksha, will answer your summons at any time." Ryen's lips curled into a faint smile, and he nodded. Though he was powerful enough to protect himself, he wouldn't refuse such thoughtful gestures of goodwill. "Then, the specifics of the cooperation agreement can be finalized by the Tianshu Star tomorrow," Ryen said, his tone light. "But for now, I believe we have another contract to sign." Zhongli retrieved a golden scroll, faint tendrils of divine power swirling around it. Its ethereal brilliance made it look otherworldly, almost sacred. "This contract," Zhongli said, his voice carrying a solemn weight, will be the cornerstone of a new future, the contract to begin all contracts.